So today's video is going to be a home decor video. I'm going to give you the 5 steps that you need to create the modern cottage aesthetic in your home. What is modern cottage? Well, modern cottage is a blend of 2 styles in my opinion. It is the cottage that you find in the English countryside that's really cozy, really calm, and really full of life and lovely textures. And you're creating that with a modern sort of minimal aesthetic. So the idea is to create the warm, cozy effect without having too much fuss and too much clutter. The first tip that I can give you is that you need to keep everything neutral. Neutral colors are the base of this modern cottage. You want it to be calming, you want it to be really, really tranquil, but still keeping it cozy and cottage-like. So you want to stay away from really bright colors. White is a great option if you are unsure what color you want to pick. Sage, green, like blues, all the colors you see here in the background on this beautiful painting I have is the colors that you can actually use in the modern cottage. Now, if you can see, my walls are white, but if you didn't want to go white, you could go the route of a wallpaper, something like this. This is what we had in our previous flat. Our previous flat in Sundbyberg in Sweden had this in the bedroom on the walls. It was really, really beautiful, really subtle. I thought I was going to do it here, but I've never gotten around to doing it. But this is definitely the sort of wallpaper you should go for. Something subtle, also very, very, very modern because it's not really very fussed and doesn't have a lot of borders and things like that. So you could go that route as well. But if you wanted to play it safe, I would just recommend keeping your walls white or having a color like light pinks or beiges or creams, just keeping it very calm and neutral. Number 2, it has to be vintage decor. Now, in your modern cottage style, you want to create a warm, weathered look in your home. And the way you're going to do that is by bringing in vintage pieces. In this room, I have a couple of vintage pieces. I have a chest of drawer, which is really vintage. We bought it at an antique shop and we've had it. I love it. The drawers don't work really well, but it really gives off a beautiful aesthetic here. And then this mirror also is a great find. I found it at a thrift store. It really gives off that old school charm, the cottage vibe, and also here is sort of Scandinavian old school vibe. There are lots of Scandinavian that have these sort of ornate mirrors, but you have to be really careful. I've just got one piece here and that's it. You try to keep it as minimal as possible, but some really nice statement pieces that are clean, don't have too much fuss on it, and you will be good to go. Vintage and antique pieces are a definite must in the modern cottage style, but don't go out and spend lots of money. Go to a thrift store, see what you can find, even if it's a small vase or a trinket box or something that's a little antique. See if your grandmother or your mum has something that you can borrow, and will really go a long way to creating this aesthetic. Number 3 has to be subtle patterns and florals. Now, the modern cottage really encompasses a little bit of pattern, or quite a lot of pattern, but it's pattern on pattern, but you really have to be careful to keep it really subtle. The wallpaper I showed you earlier is a really great example. You can have floral prints, but you want to keep it subtle. In this room, as you can see, I have bedding that's also in a floral aesthetic. I have a vintage rug that is really breaking up everything in the room. It's got a dark red and it's got a green, but somehow it just works. It just looks eclectic, it looks lived in, and it really gives off that modern cottage vibe without it being too old and too dusty and really making everything feel too gloomy. You want to keep it light and airy, very subtle with your floral prints. I've got this floral painting here that we were given as a gift for our wedding. My husband's aunt paints these. They're so beautiful. So this is really the jumping off point we had for our bedroom in the flat, and that has moved here into our cookie cutter home. Number 4 has to be natural textures. Now, if you can bring in some natural textures into your space, that is going to be really key in creating this warm modern cottage vibe. Now on my bed, I like to have cotton, and I have a knitted throw. On the rug, it's a wool rug, but I really like to mix and match my textiles and my textures. Now, if I was really starting from scratch, I probably would bring in some more linens and some more woven textures, but I am not. This is what my bedroom looks like. I'm not going to go out and buy anything because it really gives off a modern cottage vibe even without having too much texture. So it goes to show, use what you have at home. Some throws, some bed linen. I've got a little edging on the pillows that look really pretty. I've got these pillows that my mother made in the 80s that got a print on it and a floral print, got lots of texture on it. So really look for pieces that you're adding to your bedding or to your curtains or window treatments to give you a lot of texture in the modern cottage style. The modern cottage style is all about keeping it really authentic with your furniture. You want to think slip covered sofas and really weathered furniture. Now, the antique piece that I'm showing you here has definitely been weathered. It's been used over the years. Somebody has painted it. It was not this as the original color, but we bought it in this color. But as you can see, it has been weathered. It's got a lot of character to it, and it really is a great piece. But the bed that we got here, we painted ourselves, my husband and I. It was a very plain wooden bed. It's an old bed that my father-in-law, mother-in-law had when they moved into their first home. My husband and I painted it, and we put a gold brushing on top, and we cleaned it off so it looks really weathered and it looks old, and it really fits in like a charm into this bedroom and really creates the modern aesthetic. But if you are looking for new furniture, I would definitely go with pieces that are weathered, or even new pieces, not so much shabby chic. Yes, the bed looks a little bit shabby chic, but you don't want to go overboard with it. Ideally, you want to find vintage and antique pieces that really give you that weathered look. But if you can't, this is really a good option to creating a sort of weathered look in your furniture. Final hallmark of this aesthetic modern cottage is probably the most important. You have to keep it minimal. The reason it's called modern cottage is because you're taking away all the fluff, all the extra bits that a typical English cottage would have. You're stripping away all the frills and the bows and all the small knickknacks that they usually have in this sort of cottage style, and bringing it into a modern cottage by simplifying everything, making sure that when you are decorating your room or your house in this style, you are very precise and very intentional about your decor. So as you can see, I don't have much here. I let the bed and the carpet really speak. I've got a lot of art on the walls. That's why I don't have any wallpaper on the walls to clash with it. I'm trying to keep everything as minimal. I'm being really intentional about decor pieces I have. So I don't have much. I have a small vase and a little lamp on the table and maybe a candle, really paring back all the decor, which is a really important to create the modern cottage aesthetic. So I hope this video has been helpful. If it has, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you. And with all that said, I'll see you in the next one.